On Thanksgiving morning, the frost lay thick on the rolling acres of Dawson Ranch. Each blade of grass turned silver beneath the early sun, and while the quiet hum of the countryside breathed its usual serenity, rancher Noah Dawson stepped out of his farmhouse, expecting nothing more than a brisk walk to the barn to feed the horses, unaware that this morning would carve itself into the heart of his life forever, because as he approached the old wooden structure, something felt unusually still, almost as if the air itself held a secret, and when he slid the barn door open, the sight that greeted him halted the rhythm of his breath. A young woman, barely past her early 20s, curled up in a dusty corner of the hay, clutching a bundled infant against her chest, both of them wrapped in little more than torn blankets, shivering, exhausted, and clearly running from a nightmare. And for a long moment Noah simply stood there, silently taking in the fragile presence of this stranger, the sunbeam falling gently over her tangled hair and pale face, before he cautiously stepped forward, his boots crunching softly on the straw as the horses stirred behind him. And when the sound made her flinch awake with terror flashing in her eyes, she pressed the baby tighter as if expecting him to strike or shout. But Noah only lifted his hand slowly in a gesture of peace, his voice soft, warm, steady. Hey, it's all right. You're safe here. Words that seemed to freeze her panic, though her breathing stayed sharp, and she whispered with trembling lips that she didn't mean to trespass, didn't mean to hide here. She just needed one night out of the cold, that her baby had fallen sick, that she had nowhere left to run, and Noah, whose quiet life had been marked by loss since the day he buried his wife 3 years earlier, felt something long silent awaken inside him, a protective instinct he thought grief had taken away forever. And before she could shrink back again, he removed his flannel jacket in one smooth motion and draped it over her shaking shoulders, saying the words that would echo across their lives. You're home now, words that made her eyes well with tears because no one had ever said them to her without wanting something in return. And as she revealed her name was Lily and the baby was Emma, Noah sensed the world shifting under his feet as he helped her to the farmhouse, guiding her gently through the morning frost. And as the warmth of the hearth touched her skin, the baby stirred weakly, prompting Noah to prepare warm milk while Lily gazed around as if she'd stepped into a dream she feared waking from. And she confessed in a halting voice that Emma's father was violent, dangerous, the kind of man who didn't forgive women who tried to escape, which was why she had fled through back roads and forests, for 2 nights straight without rest, without safety, without food, hoping to reach somewhere, anywhere that could protect her child. And Noah listened with tightening fists because he understood the look of someone who had been hurt too deeply by the world. And so he set a plate of hot food in front of her, insisting she eat, insisting she stay as long as she needed. But Lily, conditioned by fear, hesitated, choking on gratitude she didn't know how to handle, until Emma let out a soft, sickly cough that pushed Lily to tears. And Noah, driven by instinct, took one look at the baby and declared they were driving to the clinic right now, helping them into his old truck and speeding toward town, the wheels crunching over frost-covered earth as Lily, exhausted, leaned her head against the window and murmured how she didn't know why he was helping her, to which Noah replied, with quiet strength, that no one, especially not a mother with a child, should ever be left alone on Thanksgiving or any day. And when the doctor examined Emma and confirmed she was weak but treatable, dehydration and cold having stolen her strength, Lily broke down with relief, clutching Noah's arm as though holding onto the one solid thing in her collapsing world. And when they returned to the ranch that evening with medicines and hope, the sun setting in amber waves across the sky, Noah felt his home, once empty, once echoing with memories of a life lost, begin to feel alive again. For the sound of Emma's tiny breathing and Lily's soft thank you carried something deeper, something he hadn't heard in years. And though neither of them knew it yet, the storm Lily had run from was already trailing behind her, because far away, the man she escaped from had discovered she was gone, had sworn he'd find her no matter where she hid, and the Thanksgiving night that wrapped Noah's ranch in peaceful silence was only the beginning of a journey that would bind their fates, test their courage, awaken old wounds, and teach them that sometimes family is not born, but found. And as Lily drifted into the first safe sleep she'd had in months, Noah stood by the window, watching the moon rise over his land, and whispered to himself that come what may, he would protect them both, because no one who crossed his threshold seeking refuge would ever be abandoned again, and with that vow, the future of all three of them shifted, woven together under the quiet glow of a Thanksgiving that would be remembered forever. So viewers, if you're enjoying this powerful unfolding story, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, because Chapter 2 will take this journey into deeper danger, deeper emotion, and unforgettable twists you won't want to miss. The next morning brought a hush over Dawson Ranch, a soft glow spreading across the fields as if the land itself wanted to protect the fragile peace now, resting inside the farmhouse. But that peace was short-lived, because while Lily fed Emma her medicine in the rocking chair, Noah had pulled out from storage. She confessed that the man hunting her, Caleb Ward, was not only dangerous but deeply connected, the kind of man who had friends in dark places and money that kept his crimes buried. And Noah listened with a tightening jaw, promising her again that she was safe here, though inside he already felt the weight of what protecting her might mean. And as they tried to settle into the day, Noah showed Lily around the ranch, teaching her how to warm the bottles, how to latch the barn door so the wind wouldn't push it open, how to call for him on the radio if she ever felt afraid. And Lily, still half certain this kindness could not possibly be real, watched him with a mixture of awe and fear, stunned by a man who asked for nothing, offered everything, and never once judged her. And as evening crept in, Noah found himself laughing quietly as Emma clutched his fingers with her tiny hand, and Lily watched with a soft, aching expression because she had never seen a man look at her child with such gentleness. But their fragile warmth shattered like thin glass when Noah spotted unfamiliar tire tracks leading up his driveway, fresh ones, deep ones, the kind made by a large vehicle, and his instincts snapped into sharp alert, his heartbeat tightening as he walked the perimeter while Lily held the baby close. And when he returned inside, he told her the truth. Someone had driven near the ranch recently, someone who hadn't been there before, and the way her face, drained of color, told him she already suspected exactly who it was. And that night, as Noah turned off the porch lights and kept watch from the shadow of the living room with a hunting rifle balanced across his lap, Lily whispered that she didn't want to bring trouble to his doorstep, that she could leave, but Noah shook his head firmly. This is your home now. You're not running anymore, not alone, not ever again. And those words wrapped around her heart like a lifeline as she finally fell asleep with Emma on her chest, unaware that beyond the property line, two men were stepping out of a black truck, scanning the distance with cold eyes, the older one speaking into his phone with a voice as sharp as a blade. She's close. I can feel it. And while Noah kept his silent vigil, remembering the grief he had carried since losing his wife, he realized that protecting Lily and Emma wasn't a burden. It was a purpose, a reason for the hollowness in his chest to finally fill again. And the next day, as he trained Lily how to hold the shotgun safely, only as a precaution, she confided more of her past. The years of manipulation, the fear, the way Caleb had isolated her, controlled her, broken her piece by piece, until Emma's birth gave her the final spark of courage to escape. And Noah felt an anger rise inside him so fierce he had to step outside to breathe, because no woman deserved that. No child should grow up under that shadow. And as he stood there staring across the open land, he sensed movement in the tree line, a flicker of dark clothing too deliberate to be wildlife, and he immediately ushered Lily and Emma into the storm shelter beneath the house, telling her to stay quiet, stay hidden, not to come out until he returned. And when she begged him not to go, he brushed a thumb across Emma's tiny forehead and whispered, "Family protects family," before climbing the ladder and locking the hatch, stepping back into the fading daylight as tension pressed against the air like a storm, ready to break. And soon the black truck emerged slowly down his driveway, stopping near the porch, and two men stepped out, Caleb leading with a cruel smile carved into his face, greeting Noah like an old acquaintance even though their eyes had never met before. And Noah, standing tall with his rifle resting against his shoulder, told him plainly that Lily was not here, that even if she were, he'd never hand her over. And Caleb laughed low and mocking, saying men like him didn't get to decide what happened to women like her. But Noah didn't flinch, didn't waver, his voice turning steel as he warned Caleb to get off his land. And when Caleb made the mistake of stepping forward, threatening Noah, the rancher didn't hesitate. He fired one warning shot into the dirt at Caleb's feet, the blast echoing across the open fields like a thunderclap, sending birds exploding from the trees. And the message was clear. Cross this line and you won't walk away. And Caleb growled that the law couldn't protect her forever. That he'd be back. That he always got what belonged to him. But Noah stepped closer, jaw set, eyes blazing with the kind of conviction forged through loss, and said with a steady, unshakable calm, "She never belonged to you. She belongs to herself. And she chose to come here. That makes her mine to protect." And as Caleb retreated, to his truck with rage boiling beneath his skin, Noah knew this wasn't the end. This was only the first battle. And when he opened the shelter to retrieve Lily and Emma, Lily collapsed into his arms, sobbing from fear and relief. And that night as they sat by the fire, Emma sleeping peacefully between them, Noah realized that somewhere between that Thanksgiving morning and this dangerous confrontation, he had begun to care for them in a way he hadn't thought possible again. And Lily, eyes shimmering in the firelight, whispered that she didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew she didn't want to face it, anywhere but here with him, because for the first time in her life she felt seen, valued, protected, and Noah took her trembling hand in his, promising that no matter what Caleb planned, no matter what storm was coming, they would face it together as a family. And while the flames crackled softly, the bond between them grew stronger than fear itself, setting the stage for a future built not on running, but on standing firm, on healing, on love. And as the chapter of their lives turned, with the crackling firelight dancing across the room, their story, your story, continued to grow deeper, richer, more powerful. So if you felt the emotion, the tension, the heart of this tale, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, because more incredible, dramatic, life-changing stories are coming, and you won't want to miss a single one.